It's the, and we have exactly just about 1 hour to deal with all our business, and we have a whole lot to do today. So I will be limiting testimony today as the bills come forward. Probably, well, it depends on the bill. Some are going to take a little longer, a little more discussion than others, so we're going to probably adjust that. So just so we can get started right away, House Bill 940, as the request of the patron, we would like to strike it from the docket.
So moved.
Can I do them at the same time? Oh, and we also have House Bill 1250, Delegate Fowler, at his request, to be stricken from the docket.
So moved.
All right, this is a vote. Now I got to do a roll too. Oh, he's not voting. All right, so that passes the House on an 8-0 vote. We also need to take roll, so sorry about that. We just did, but so I guess we're all good. We're all here. All right. So the first bill we're going to hear this afternoon is Delegate Runyon's bill. It is House Bill 1014. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. Good afternoon. This is a relatively simple bill in that it exempts small charitable gaming organizations, think of fire companies, rescue squads, the associated thing, from the reporting requirements and filing fees that become pretty onerous. We up in the valley in the rural areas, we have some organizations that have relatively small games. They'll gross $3,000 to $4,000 a year in a 1-week time period at a lawn party or a carnival. And the regulations now require them to pay $400 fee and file 4 reports during the year. It becomes onerous. And so we would like for those exemptions. So there's 2 exemptions that occur. One, if you have annual receipts of $40,000 or less, you'll not be required to file this report. Or if you have $15,000 in gross receipts within a 7-day time period, you won't be obligated to file this report. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. That is what the bill does. And it's smaller government, ladies and gentlemen, so would appreciate y'all's support. Oh, I apologize. I was ignoring the staff. There is an amendment, right?
Okay. All right. Does anyone?
Get her to report the amendment.
Will you please report the amendment? Sorry.
Yes, Madam Chair. On line 38, after the word cards, strike the remainder of line 38 and through the word equipment on line 39. And on line 41, after the word are, strike the remainder of line 41 and through the word equipment on line 42 and insert in paper format.
Thank you, Madam.
Does everyone have the amendment? Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Delegate Runyon. Anyone on the committee have any questions for Delegate Runyon? Anyone in the audience want to speak for the bill? Anyone in the audience want to speak against the bill? We have one person virtually to speak to this bill. Okay, I take there's no one present. All right. So we act on motion.
I'll move to report.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Cast your votes, please. All right, Delegate Runyon, your bill passes with everyone's vote in a 5-3.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee.
All right, so now we're going to go back to the top of our list and House Bill 455. Delegate Knight, yes, you can stay here.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 459, I've got a substitute, and the substitute are technical edits in nature, not substantive, and David May, our attorneys, work with Legislative Services on this just to address some grammatical changes, and we had one ABC code section to add to the substitute, been left out by mistake, so I'd move the substitute.
There, second. I hear a second. All those in favor of the substitute?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Delegate Knight.
Okay. Madam, Chairman. Don't mind interrupting me at any time that someone wants to make a motion to report this fine bill. But it's pretty lengthy in detail. But y'all are familiar with when we had the casino bill a couple of years ago, and this addresses some administrative issues, some operational issues for the casinos, and a new licensure structure for the sale of alcoholic beverages, and in forms of payment to place wagers and employment matters to keep Virginia casino laws in Virginia in line with industry standards. So anyone that's ever been to a casino, pretty much anywhere across the country, all these laws are pretty much standard everywhere, and we just want to kind of make sure we have a level playing field. And this bill preserves ABC's authority to recover costs for the casino license application and the investigations. It imposes fees for the casino licenses and permits beverage manufacturers to conduct tastings at casinos, and it creates 2 new ABC licenses. One's a mixed beverage restaurant license for a restaurant located on the casino premises, and allows for the mixed beverage licensee on the premises to sell on-premises consumptions during all hours of operation of the casino. And the mixed beverage casino license allows for 24-hour sale of alcohol on premises consumption. It permits the casino to give complimentary beverages to the VIP patrons only in the private and restricted areas. That's a little bit of a change from normal casinos where we're going to the blackjack tables and the slot machines. This is only in private or restricted areas. It allows the licensee to sell for off premises except for the hours between midnight and 6 a.m. So that way they're not in competition with any convenience stores in town. And it allows gifts in closed containers of ABC to VIP patrons. And it permits individuals who participate in these loyalty and reward programs to exchange the loyalty and reward credits for the purchase of alcoholic beverages. Anyone who's been in a casino knows if you're a frequent flyer there, they give you some benefits. And the last portion of the bill addresses operation and enforcement issues for lottery. It clarifies existing and adds new definitions to list of casino games. It defines a counter check, which is standard casino practice. It's kind of like when some of us farmers go to an auction and they want to make sure you got some money, they give you a letter of credit. So you can take this letter of credit and go buy a piece of farm equipment. You can take this letter of credit and cash it in for chips. And the casino knows that you're good for the funds because your bank has said so. And it clarifies that gross receipts do not include promotional credits or uncollectible counter checks. Gross receipts is a definition in the casino bill. It defines a prepaid access instrument, which is a standard casino practice nationwide. And then it updates certain permitting employment provisions to make sure that a prior misdemeanor marijuana possession conviction is not a bar to obtaining a service permit. And it also, if you have someone that's working here, custodial services or whatever, and they're between the ages of 18 and 21, it lets them, in the performance of their duties, walk back and forth across the casino floor, where typically you have to be 21 years of age. And it also allows casinos to, of course, accept these prepaid access instruments and interest-free counter checks pursuant to the verification of funds sufficient. That's just a guarantee of funds. It allows the patrons to make wagers with electronic credits and electronic cash to provide flexibility for the new and future forms of electronic transactions. We're all getting more familiar with credit cards and stuff, and debit cards. And it allows the patrons to exchange cash for the tokens and the chips, because that's what we typically do. You go in there, you pay cash, and you get your chips, and you're allowed to pay. Some of this stuff is pretty simple. Anyone that's been to casinos before, but some of this stuff in the very detailed casino bill was maybe left out or not clear, and this is just kind of a cleanup bill. And there's 2 enactment clauses, and it allows for a temporary casino with a mixed beverage restaurant ABC license prior to July 1, 2022 to operate the privileges of a new casino. What happens is this may become law, and we may open a temporary casino in a particular one of our 4 locations. We want them to be able to sell alcohol in there before this becomes law if they take advantage of that temporary casino. And then the second authorizes ABC to promulgate regulations pursuant to this bill prior to October 1 of this year for the same scenario. And Virginia Lottery was in there and Virginia ABC, and they got with me on all these technical changes. As far as I know, we're all together on this. This is just a cleanup bill to make sure that the very voluminous casino bill is up to standards, and we've tried to figure everything out. So I'd stand by for questions if there are any.
Anyone on the committee have any questions for Delegate Knight? Delegate Florian?
I don't have any questions. I have a motion.
There are a couple people who want to speak and that are here virtually. We have,
He doesn't want to speak.
probably doesn't want to.
No,
Okay.
no, look at
All
him.
right. So do I entertain a motion?
I move to the report.
Second.
All right. The motion has been to report with a substitute, Delegate Knight's bill 455. Please vote. All right, they're all in favor. It's an 8-0 vote, Delegate Knight.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take up Delegate Hope because I think he's the only person here who's not on the committee that has a bill before us. So Delegate Hope.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 685, and I do have an amendment.
Ashley, do you want to report the amendment?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. So on after line 425, insert a second enactment clause that reads that the Virginia Alcoholic Beverage Control Authority may begin accepting applications for licenses pursuant to Section 4.1-553 of the Code of Virginia as created by this act on January 1st, 2024.
Oh, I'll move the amendment.
All right, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Delegate Hope.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. This is deja vu all over again. I brought this bill before the subcommittee, and it passed. It went to the Appropriations Committee. And I think the retailers and the advocates for tobacco retail licensing couldn't see eye to eye on some issues. And the chair of the committee at the time asked that the tax commissioner perform a study, in which we did do, and we're still in the same place, Madam Chair. Just to refresh your memory, in 2019, I think everyone was here in 2019, General Assembly passed a law, Governor signed, a law raising the age age appropriate to purchase tobacco from 18 to 21 years old. That's section 18.2-246.8. But we have not been enforcing that law. And the problem with not enforcing that law, for one thing, is that we don't want kids to take up smoking cigarettes or vaping. But we are in risk, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Knight, I'm speaking directly to you about this because I think this will be important to you. We are in risk of losing about $4 million in federal grants if our underage tobacco use and sales at retailers is violated at 20% or higher. And the last time we checked this because of the pandemic was 2019, we were at 17%. So very close to 20%. And most people believe that if you were to do this same unannounced visit at retailers where they hire people that are 18, 19 years old, violations, that we are over that 20% right now because we have not been checking. So that puts that federal grant, and the federal grant is $40 million. We would be penalized 10% of that, which is $4 million that we get from the federal government to the state of Virginia, and that is at risk. And that's why we should be very concerned about this. Now, the whole concept of licensing is really more than anything, it's accountability for retailers to make sure they're not violating our laws. When we pass laws, we're very serious about it, and we want to make sure there's no violators. The majority of states, 43 states, have some form of license for our retailers. Virginia doesn't have any. And so this would bring us in line with the majority of states. So specifically what the bill would do, and I would just point out to you, this committee is going to spend a lot of time on marijuana and has already to date and will. You would not dream of setting up a regulatory infrastructure process for marijuana and not have licensure be a part of it. We have for alcohol. We have licensure for alcohol. Folks to sell license for that. We don't have it for tobacco, and that's what we're trying to fix, and that's what we're trying to bring everyone together. So specifically, the bill would require retailers of tobacco and nicotine, because e-cigarettes as well are also a big part, vaping shops and things like that, to obtain a tobacco retail licensing through the ABC. Because ABC has obviously expertise in this area. They do it for tobacco. They do it for alcohol, and they can do it for tobacco as well. It establishes a comprehensive list of all tobacco and nicotine retailers. We don't know who they all are. If you are selling cigarettes, you probably have information about where they are. But if you are a vape shop, we won't necessarily know who they are and whether they're selling to underage. It establishes enhanced civil monetary penalties and outlines license suspension, which is the accountability part. If you violate this multiple times, then you are at risk of losing your license. We hope no one violates, but that is the consequences and accountability part of it. It would establish a penalty and suspension of the revocation structure for those who sell unlawfully, and it would level the playing field. Look, if I operate a gas station and I'm doing everything right, but my competitor across the street is not, that's not really fair. That's not fair business practice. Everyone should be complying with the law, and I think that's what we should be about doing. Now, I think the crux of the issue is who pays, Madam Chair? Who's going to pay for this? This is to stand up this structure, and usually the way licensure works is it's self-funded. The people that are the retailers, they would pay into the fund just the amount that it would take to enforce the program. And that's the way it works in all of our licensure programs in our state, physicians and nurses and other practitioners. That's how you would do this. How I've contemplated this, because the retailers have cried poverty, I have said, okay, the General Assembly will pay for it. And so I've put a budget amendment in here because the retailers can't afford $10 or $12 a month in order to pay this. And so I said the General Assembly will pay for it. Because, first of all, it's important that we're not violating and selling tobacco products to our kids to get addicted. And secondly, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, Uber Chair, I don't want to lose the $4 million. And it's really important that we do that for those two policy reasons. So that, I think, is the crux of the issues. The retailers will stand up and tell you that they're opposed to the bill. However, it's not going to cost them a penny under this, because I have a budget amendment in that Virginia taxpayers are going to pay for. I think they're probably concerned that you will say, no, that's not a good idea, you should pay. And that will cost them money. So that's the bill that's before you. And I hope that we can figure out how to do this, because you'll keep seeing me year after year, because we can't be the last state that does this. We have to enforce our laws, and I think everyone agrees. And I think everyone agrees. I know this. We don't want to be selling our tobacco products to kids under 21 years old, but we're doing it, and we're doing it at a very high rate. That's the bill, Madam Chair.
Does anyone on the committee have questions for Delegate Hope? All right, does anyone in the audience want to speak for the bill? Anyone in the audience want to speak against the bill?
Yes, sir, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. As Delegate Hope predicted, I'm Mike O'Connor with Virginia Petroleum and Convenience Marketers. And we've had extensive discussions with the delegate over since the fall, and on Saturday gave him suggested points of study. I would agree with him that the study that came out of the Taxation Department was more of a review of past studies rather than an original document. What happened is that we changed to Tobacco 21 effective July 1st, when was it, 2019, Since that time, the world closed down. There been no inspections. But to intimate or to imply that underage sales have gone up when we increase the age, I don't think makes sense. So what we did suggest to the delegate was a more comprehensive study, and it was his decision that that wasn't the way he wanted to proceed this year. We feel, and there was not unanimity on this survey because some members were concerned if it came out in a situation that we didn't like, that we would perhaps be facing a more likely passage of this bill perhaps next year, but we're willing to take that chance. You look at where behind the counter and where cigarettes were 10 years ago. That's down to about 20% of where it was. Smoking in Virginia is down to about 14%. To say that youth sales purchases are going up when the trend is completely elsewhere in Virginia, I think really leaves something to be desired. So we would prefer, as I shared with you yesterday, these points to be studied. The last point I would make, one of the objectives that some of the advocacy groups have said for a license is the license can be revoked. And I think that rather than any fee or a situation like that is the real reason why we're here today.
Thank
So
you.
we ask you to post the bill.
Thank you. You guys are each going to only get about 30 seconds to state unless you've got something that's really compelling and different.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Trip Barron representing 7-Eleven and 800 retail locations, most of whom are owned by entrepreneurs across the Commonwealth. We oppose the bill.
Madam Chair, member of the subcommittee, Craig Whittam, representing the Cigar Association of Virginia. We always appreciate the delegates' willingness to always talk to us, but we also oppose the bill as it is.
Madam Chair, my name is Steve Burrell. I represent the Virginia Smoke-Free Association. We, too, oppose the bill. One thing I'll mention is I understand the patrons' interest in saving $4 billion in grant money. But I want to point out that the financial impact statement says that the cost over 2 years is going to be $5 million for the proposed inspections. Now, I know he's expecting the state to pick up that cost, but there's some uncertainty about that. And our clients are a small player in this world, and the risk of having to share in such a large sum to accomplish the task is, I see my time's running out, but that's a very troubling thing for our retail clients. So thank you.
Yeah. We're going to about 30 seconds.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'll be very fast. Greg Habib from Gentry Lock here on behalf of the Virginia Asian American Store Owners Association. VASHO has 1,200 members with 2,500 stores and 12,000 employees in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some folks online to speak in favor of the bill. And Madam Clerk, you want to?
Mr. Donahue.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, excuse me. I'm with the American Cancer Society, the Cancer Action Network. Underage smoking is indeed going up along with vaping. We strongly support this bill and thank the delegate for all his work.
Thank you.
Ms. Quimby.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I represent the National Tobacco 21 organization. I'm also local to Virginia and have been for 35 years. We strongly support tobacco retail licensing as a way to effectively enforce Tobacco 21, which this assembly passed 3 years ago and which Donald Trump signed into law later that year. And we thank Delegate Hope for all his consistent hard work on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quimby. Is there anyone else? I do want to, I'm just going to point out on almost all the bills that we're talking about today, I do have a note that from Lafayette Jefferson, from the Petersburg NAACP, and they are taking no position on any of these bills we're talking about today, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that. All right, react on a motion.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, Delegate Krisak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I kind of, where you mentioned ABC as the enforcement arm of this. Where are they on this, and have you had extensive discussions on how that process would bear out and play out with them?
Madam Chair, we have, because this is the second time we've brought the bill, and ABC obviously has the ability to do this because they have the structure already in place for alcohol. They visit a lot of these retailers anyway to do alcohol checks. And so they could easily do it for the tobacco side of it. What they don't do, and this would be sort of new for them, is the vaping and cigars. They don't do that because there's not a alcohol license in most of those places. And so that's probably the reason why the FIS is what it is. But I do want to clarify on the FIS and just the facts. The facts are the last time we did these tests, and we don't do them, the feds do them through the SINAR, because that's part of the amendment that we get from SAMHSA. They're at 17% underage. And those are the last statistics that we have. The concern is that we have not been doing this for a couple of years, and the expectation is those numbers tend to go up. And we're getting very close to that 20%, which would mean the $4 million will go away. And in the FIS, it is just to ramp this up, it's a few $1 million, and then from that point on, it's I think 1.8 or 1.9 for out years. But that's far worse than $4 million a year, than 1.9. Our options are this. We can do nothing and just continue and let that number go up unchecked, unenforced. We can do that. Or we can decide how we're going to build in some accountability and how serious we are about enforcing underage tobacco use. And we can do that in ways whether we want to pay for the money ourselves or have the retailers do it, because I understand, it sounds like to me that they're barely getting by.
Thank you, Delegate Hope. We have a motion?
I'll move to lay the bill on the table.
We have a motion to lay the bill on the table with a second.
It's not debatable.
It's not debatable, so this is for a recorded vote, correct? All right, so would everyone please vote? All right, Delegate Hope, come back next year because your bill failed on the 7-1 vote. Thank you. All right. The next bill we're going to bring up is House Bill 571, Delegate Kresak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it okay if I?
Yes,
present?
sir. You can develop there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This HB 571 has a Senate cognate to SB 366 from Senator Reeves. I have a substitute for this bill, and I think Council has that.
Madam Chair, it should be posted online now.
Move the substitute.
Move the substitute. Second.
All right, we've had a second on moving the substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Delegate Kresak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what this substitute does is it excludes so in-person satellite racing facilities, like the horse racing tracks, from the age 21 age requirement, so that anybody aged 18 to 21 can wager. When we drafted this bill, the intent was to only raise the age of being able to gamble for the electronic gaming terminal machines, not for actual horses. And the reason for that is that's kind of the tradition around the nation. That would match up with all the other states around us, and for the most part, when you go to the horse track, you can be 18 and you can bet on the horses. But playing the machines, we're trying to bring some consistency to overall gaming in Virginia on electronic machines, what they look like, the slot machine types, and to make that age, bring that age up to 21. And just to let everybody know, I have a later bill. We'll do the same thing with charitable gaming. It is already 21 for the casinos that are going to be coming online, and so that's the goal here is to keep it up to 21. I do have a number of people here who would like to testify in support of that.
All right. Anybody else on the committee have any questions? All right. For anyone who is in favor of this bill, can you please come forward?
Well, supposedly I had to.
Anybody opposed to this bill? All right. In the audience, who do we have? I say no one's present in the virtual room. Can we have a motion?
I move to approve.
All right. It's been moved to report the substitute. Please vote. Delegate Creasack, you got the first one out, 8-0. Delegate Creasack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 574 is also in the regarding horse racing, and it's also to bring some consistency to gaming in general. Right now, we have, and I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no amendment or anything here, is there? Oh, no, there is an amendment in nature of substitute. I'm sorry.
All right, all those in favor say aye, accept the substitute. Anyone opposed? Delegate Creasack.
This seeks to redirect 1% of the taxes collected from the operation of historical horse racing machines that currently operate at the Rosie's and other places at the racetrack to the problem gambling and addiction, or the problem gambling treatment and support fund, which is administered by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. This again is to do the same thing that we've done in other forms of gaming. We've got a little bit of money going from the casinos into this. We have money from the sports, the online sports betting goes to this problem gambling treatment and support fund, and I think it's time for all forms of gaming to pay into it, because this issue is going to become more problematic. There are about 1 to 3% of adults who have the serious gambling disorder, and we know all the negativity that can come from that regarding financial instability, mental health issues, uptick in criminal stuff. So having some monies from them, some skin in the game, if you will, paying into to this fund, I think is the right thing to do. And the reason we have we had to do this amended version is because of the math, the way the math works. It does not add any extra fee or tax. It just comes out of the money that was going to the general fund. So this may need to go to appropriations.
Yes, I have a letter on this one that it does need to go, if we report it out to appropriations. Delegate Knight.
Delegate Creasack, on the problem gaming fund, we've got that established in the sports betting. We've got it established in the casino and some other places. I was, and I may be wrong, but I thought that we had a lot of money in there already, and I don't want to build up a fund that we're not using it. I don't know if you have any clarity on how much is in the fund.
Madam Chair and Delegate Knight, I don't know what the number is, but this would not bring in a lot of money. I think this is more about fairness and equity, that everybody that benefits from gaming would pay into that. And all I do know is it's not a lot of money at this point, obviously, because we don't even have the casino money going into it. I think we've got about $250,000 only, and that comes from the online sports betting. So the fund could use some money to get going. I think this is one of those where we could revisit it every year. But this is just this is really just a kind of that everybody plays in the same sandbox here.
Any other questions from members of the committee? All right, anyone in the audience want to speak for this bill?
Madam Chair.
Delegate Torian.
To Delegate Creasack, if this goes through, there's a motion if it passes, it goes upstairs to appropriation.
Yes, sir.
I just want to alert Delegate Creasack that since we don't have the numbers that Chairman Knight asked for, if this goes up and we find that the numbers are there that he spoke of, you kind of get the drift of my message, right?
I understand.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, anyone speak against this bill in the audience? Anyone to speak for the bill? Anyone in the virtual room? All right, Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a motion. I have a motion. I have a motion to report and refer with the amendment, please.
All right. It's been suggested we report and refer this to appropriations with the substitute. Please cast your vote on the electronic board. All right, Delegate Creasack, this bill passes on an 8-0, so you'll have to make your arguments upstairs now.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Delegate Creasack.
All right. Do you want me to just go in the order that you have listed here? Or
Yes.
would you like to take the easier ones first?
Well, I'm thinking we might want to do Delegate Van Valkenburg's, well, he just walked out. That's okay.
Okay.
How about Delegate Campbell? Do you want to go ahead and present your bill? Because you have a whole bunch in a
Yeah, that's
row,
fine,
so
that's
we're going to
fine.
come back to
No problem.
yours, and then we'll let you just kind of have the floor for a little bit.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 1123, Madam Chair, is a bill that's designed to create a gaming commission investigation unit that will be under the auspices of the Virginia State Police. Additionally, it increases the penalties for conducting illegal gaming operations and imposes substantial penalties as well. You know, when we opened the door to this last year and created opportunities for casinos to open, necessarily we've created obviously law enforcement issues along with that. What this unit will do is it will be charged and have the resources available to it to be able to ensure that the laws are enforced properly in the Commonwealth and that any violators are properly prosecuted. It does have a substantial price tag to it. The manner in which it will be paid for is left to the wiser devices of a certain gray-haired, bearded gentleman to my left here. However, I will say that we obviously do need to expand our law enforcement efforts in this regard, and that's what the bill is calculated to do.
All right. Any questions from members of the committee on House Bill 1123? It doesn't look like we have anyone in the virtual room. Anybody here that wants to speak in favor of this bill?
Chris Peterson with the Virginia Charitable Gaming Council. We do support the bill. We believe we need enforcement. Most of the gaming you see out in convenience stores, bars, restaurants are illegal games, some purporting to be charitable. They're not. There have been no permits allowed for a convenience store to have a charitable game, so if they're there, they're illegal. Now, we also have another concern, and we've touched briefly with the delegate, and we're working on language right now. Part of the problem is that everyone finds a way to get around the existing laws. So in the Senate, we're working with them on a bright line test that if you're in the state, you have to be authorized by the state, and you have to have a sticker, sort of like a gas pump sticker. So if this moves forward, we would like to continue our discussion on a bright light test so everyone knows what's legal, what's not legal. ABC could walk in. I also would point out, we also support Delegate Creasack's bill on the illegal gaming coordinator. If this bill passes, I don't know if we need a coordinator. So I'd point that out that his bill 766 might not be necessary if we do this. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Wayne Huggins with the State Police Association. We support Delegate Campbell's bill, but we would underscore his need that there needs to be a funding stream identified for us to be able to do this. The same with another bill that Delegate Creasack has that you're going to hear about in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Steve Burrill again for the Video Gaming Terminal Coalition. We support this bill. We support the concept of enforcement and more stringent penalties. Thank you.
Does anyone want to speak against the bill? All right. Do we have a motion?
Move to report. Second.
All right. It's been moved to report and refer to appropriations. Please cast your votes. All right. Delegate Campbell, your bill passes 8-0. Thank you. Delegate Van Valkenburg, we're going to take you next. You have about 3 minutes, okay? Sorry.
No, you're all good. Is it cool? Is it good if I do it up here?
Yes,
Madam Chair?
sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 1127 removes Virginia sports from ban on betting on them. I'll be quick. There's a couple of reasons I think to do this. One is that people already are betting on Virginia sports. If I took a poll of everybody in this audience and asked them if they were being honest, if they've bet on a UVA or Virginia Tech football, I already see the smiles, right? And they can also do so legally in states all around us, including West Virginia, Tennessee, D.C., and Maryland, you can all go there to legally bet on Virginia schools. So I think one reason to bring this into the legal market is because folks are already doing it. I think the second reason is we can bring more transparency to it. We have records of folks. We can track it. It's something we can follow versus it being underground. Another thing to note is that colleges are already benefiting from some of the money that's flowing in from sports gambling, especially HBCUs. And so there's already kind of this interconnection going on. And so I think it makes sense to do this and to move into it. I'll stop there in the name of time. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anyone on the committee have any questions? Anyone in the audience who wants to speak for the bill? And if you're going to speak against it, if you want to line up just for time, that's helpful.
Hi there, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Mormon, Government Affairs Counsel with DraftKings. I'm here today on behalf of the Sports Betting Alliance, which is made up of DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Bally's, and Fanatics. I realize we're short on time. I don't want to echo what Delegate Van Valkenburg has said. But yeah, this is happening already. If legal operators aren't allowed to offer the same sort of betting markets that illegal operators are able to offer, then we're not going to pull those Virginians, to the legal market. Excuse me. And if that's not happening, we're not going to realize the full revenue potential here in Virginia, and we're also going to continue to allow that illegal market to thrive. And as the delegate said, this is already happening right across the border in Tennessee, West Virginia, D.C., and Maryland. From an integrity standpoint, the best way to ensure that integrity happens in college sports betting is the legal operators, because we have independent integrity monitors that track every bet that comes in and basically ensures that if there's any unusual or suspicious betting behavior, that is weeded out, and illegal operators aren't incentivized to do that. So if we want to make sure that integrity stays in college sports, the best way to do that is in a legal betting market. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all we have. No one's in the virtual queue.
Speak for a second.
Yep. Delegate Knight.
Yeah, when we did the initial time coming out with the casinos and coming out with online sports betting, the agreement that we had when we were counting the votes is not to allow sports betting on college sports in Virginia, to try to keep a little bit, I hear the gentleman talking, but a little bit of an arm's length from this situation. And that's kind of how we anticipated things going 2 years ago. And I'm just going to stick with what I agreed to 2 years ago. So if you'd recognize me again, I have a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I move to lay the bill on the table.
Second.
All right. It's non-debatable. Please cast your votes. All right. Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Fails on 6-2. All right. I'm going to turn the floor over now to Delegate Krisak. You can take these bills any way you want, but I am going to limit any testimony because we have so many bills, and I'm going to have you time it because I think there'll be more people to speak to these bills, to probably about 45 seconds each. So it's not going to be long. Thank you.
All right, I've been told to keep this as quick as possible. I just want to thank the members of the Charitable Gaming Subcommittee that I chaired over the summer. We had 5 meetings, and the work that came out of that during that process, which was really a bipartisan, bicameral effort, is what we have before us today. And from my colleagues in the Senate, Senator Reeves and Eben and Ruff and Bell, and then Delegate Austin and Delegate Reed and myself were on that committee. So we found, to cut to the chase, what we're trying to do is there's been a massive proliferation of charitable games in locations where we never intended them to be. That's why we find ourselves here today. That's why we found ourselves there over the summer. These charitable gaming devices were supposed to be placed on the premises of charitable organizations and accessed by their members of those organizations and their guests, not in convenience stores, not in restaurants, in the bar section of restaurants, we've even found them in hotel lobbies. So anyway, they were all over the place, and that's why we're trying to rein this in. There was also an office of this, the Inspector General, OSIG, also came up with a report, and they reported to our committee, and I think I gave all the members last week, I gave you all a copy of that, and that many of these bills are recommendations of the report of the OSIG. So with that being, I think we should start with the one on enforcement, since we just heard from Delegate Campbell's bill, and I would.
So that's House Bill 766.
Yeah,
Okay.
and remember, there's also, we're going to see these again because they've been moving through the Senate, and this has a cognate over there in the Senate too. And so this was, I do have an amendment to this. I think it's amendment in the nature of substitute.
Council, do you want to report?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, that should be available online now.
Move the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
All right, we've heard any debate on that? Delegate Creasack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason for the substitute is that the first version had this going, the enforcement going at Virginia Lottery, and they liked the bill, but they wanted to see it. They think that they're not the right place, and I agree with them that. So we put it into the Virginia State Police, and you heard similar to what Delegate Campbell's doing, and Mr. Huggins is here. He can tell you what he thinks of it, which is, from what I understand, is supportive. The idea here is this also brings the money, which is why you're probably going to want to send it up to appropriations. And we could probably end up merging these two or coming up with the best version of this. But this also has where the money would come from and it would also create an enforcement coordinator position. And it dedicates, dedicates percentage to the gambling fund. I think that's in the same thing we talked about before. But anyways, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I'd rather talk about the other bills, which are going to take up a little bit more time, I think.
So does anyone on the committee have a question for Delegate Creasack?
I got a comment.
All right.
Delegate Creasack, I agree with your bill. What's going on? Maybe a merger needed on this. When we get it upstairs, we're going to look about the dedicated funding source, because we typically like all the money to come into the general fund to go to appropriations and appropriate out, because when you set this number in here, you may not have enough money to make it happen, or you may accrue too much money. So just wanted to kind of put you on notice. I'll be in favor of the bill, but when it gets upstairs, we may strip that part out.
Yep, I understand. Thank you.
Anyone want to speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chairman, Steve Burrell again, on behalf of the Video Gaming Terminal Coalition of Virginia, we support this bill.
Thank you for being brief. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, Wayne Huggins, as I mentioned earlier, we support this bill along with Delegate Campbell's bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak?
Chris Peterson, Virginia Charitable Gaming Council, we support it, and we support the rest of them. We'll only stand up for opposition from now on to save time.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any opposition to the bill? Seeing none, I don't think there's anyone in the virtual world.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to report and refer to appropriations in the nature of substitute.
All right. All right, cast your votes, please. Report and refer the substitute to appropriations. Delegate Creasack, your bill passes 8-0. Headed to approps. Your next bill, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next one is HB 765, which has some technical line amendments.
All in favor? Do you want to hear the amendments?
Madam Chair, there are quite a few amendments. I can explain them, and we're also posting them online for everyone to view. The majority of the amendments change the word department to commissioner. We received word from VDAX that it would be better suited in the code if the commissioner of VDAX promulgates regulations, so that was just a technical change. And then the only other change that is not technical is on line 505, after the word raffles, insert Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. And that just allows VDAX to promulgate regulations regarding Texas Hold'em tournaments without going through the 2-year APA process. It makes it exempt from the APA.
All right. Anyone have any questions on those amendments? All those in favor of accepting the amendments? All right. Anyone opposed? No. Delegate Creasack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what HB 765 aims to change, and this is a cognate of Senator Reed's, is 402. It changes the makeup of the current charitable gaming board from a regulatory board into an advisory board. The bill would return the regulatory power back to VDAX, which is at the commissioner in this case, which is where it used to be 20 years ago. They'll be promulgating the regulations when it comes to charitable gaming. Also changes the makeup of the board from 11 members to 9 members, all appointed by the governor. And it also provides that instead of requiring just one member of the board to be a member or former member of law enforcement, we allow for more than one member. In addition, the number of members serving on the board who must be unaffiliated with charitable organizations increases from 2 to 5 citizens. This is really directly right out of the OSIG report, which they said due to financial conflicts of interest and violations by current board members, essentially a fox guarding a hen house analogy, the subcommittee found this was that was unacceptable, and this is the best way to address the problem going forward. It also marries up with what you have with lottery and other advisory boards in gaming.
All right. Any member of the committee have any questions for Delegate Creasack? Anyone want to speak in favor of this bill? Anyone want to speak opposed to the bill? All right. And this has to go also to appropriations.
Second.
All right. It's been to report and refer with amendments to appropriations. Please cast your votes. Delegate Creasack, this bill passes 8-0. Your next bill, sir.
All right. Madam Chair, the next one, and I might ask to phone a friend at some point here because I've got Senator Reeves in the, but these are, this bill is the social quarters bill, HB 763. His cognate is 403. This is really, do I have a amendment or anything like that? I think we have many amendments, don't we? Yeah.
Madam Chair, it's a substitute, and it should appear online now.
This is an amendment nature. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor of the substitute, say aye. No one opposed. Delegate Creasack.
So this bill provides that electronic gaming defined in the bill as charitable gaming conducted primarily by use of an electronic device is restricted to social organizations and is limited to such organizations' social quarters. The bill also provides that all receipts attributable to electronic gaming shall be reported to VDAX and shall be subject to application, audit, and administration fees. And that's how it used to be once upon a time. So the amendments here are, do we want to go through the amendments here? After line 319, we have I think what we've done here is we've increased the age to 21 to play these games. As I told you, we did that earlier with the historical horse racing machines, and now this is the same thing. That's what that amendment does. And then the other amendment, and Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong on these. We have amendment requirements for receipts from charitable organizations to the game manufacturers, or is that some of this? And let me just say, some of this is still some moving parts because we're trying to work with all of the folks, that are the stakeholders here, so that we can have some peace in the valley and make sure. I mean, the goal here is to help the charitable gaming organizations to do what they do best, which is help raise money for their charities. And let me just say, the VFWs, the Mooses, the Elks, all of these fraternals and veterans organizations do a phenomenal and awesome job, and I'm very supportive of them. What this is trying to do is rein in the expansion so that you're going to have a whole bunch. There's 40,000 C3s and C4s out there in Virginia that could all, right now, start going into charitable gaming, and some of them are. So this is to bring it back to what the purpose of the General Assembly is always seen, which is that these fraternals that have social quarters and have membership have these games that they're able to raise money for the good work that they do. And that's really important. And that was the thrust of our work this summer, was to come up with bills that would create a framework that will be fair and will help them to do that, and to really put the emphasis on charity, not on gambling. So if maybe, Ashley, could you go through those amendments, and also the one that we're considering, we're also working, David's got one we're working out in the Senate, and maybe, Bryce, if you wouldn't mind coming up to if Madam Chair will be all right with the Senator explaining what they're trying to do with the amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say I want to thank Delegate Kriesik for his leadership in the subcommittee and all those members that were part of the subcommittee. It took a lot of work, and I think we finally got there to a product. But as this legislative process goes forward, there's always those who want to try to chip away at what we think we've done. And as part of that chipping away, I sat down with a group of lobbyists this morning that would like to have a couple more amendments to it to make sure that we do not leave out any charitable organization and their ability to conduct that. And one of those amendments Mr. May has, as he's looking with Ashley, we didn't have time to get it done by this committee today, but I have come to a gentleman's agreement with these folks. It will not allow them to proliferate in bars and restaurants, but it will allow some of these other organizations the opportunity to have access to other organizations that provide bingo and charitable. So we keep them in the box from going outside bars and restaurants, but we do allow them a little bit more flexibility in which they can raise charitable funds. And that was part of a negotiating this morning, and I worked with Paul, our Delegate Kriesik, to get to that, but we just couldn't get the formal amendments to that as part of the negotiations today done.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone want to speak in favor of this bill? Anyone to speak opposed, speak against the bill? And I don't mean to be short with you, but we have another sub that has to start immediately. Our instruction was to get these all out, then they have all revenue things, so.
I will try to be brief.
Thank you.
On a very complicated bill. We continue to oppose the bill. I first would point out two of the examples the patron gave: gambling in convenience stores, gambling in hotels. There are no permits, as far as I know, issued for those. So this bill won't address those. It does still restrict, and I haven't seen what the Senator is referring to, but we had VFWs here today who let the Lions Club use their facilities to conduct legitimate charitable gaming. This bill would prohibit that. We have moose lodges that were here today that might allow a member to buy a drink. This bill won't let them do charitable gaming if they do that. There are legitimate C3s that in the past have been allowed to conduct charitable gaming. This would appear to get rid of all of those. For a variety of other concerns, in interest of time, we'll continue to work, but we still maintain serious reservations and opposition to this bill.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Benjamin. I'm the president of the Portsmouth Moose Lodge, and I'm also the International Moose Legion Ambassador for Virginia. As mentioned before, we do a lot of great charitable work, but as this bill is written, we oppose it. It will hurt our ability to raise money that we need to continue supporting these great charities, not only in our community, but throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. On behalf of my brothers and sisters of the 83 lodges in Virginia, we oppose this bill as written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, committee members, I'm Reverend Dr. Harold Sells, the National Chaplain and also the State Chaplain for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We oppose this bill because it would hamper how we would provide charitable resources for our citizens in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have no one in the virtual queue. Delegate Cresack, do you want to make any final statements on your bill?
Well, I just want to say that a few of the things that Mr. Peterson mentioned, you heard from Senator Reeves. We've already fixed that. We're going to have that to the full committee on Thursday, or if it goes wherever, whatever the chair's pleasure is. We are continuing to work on this, and we're going to keep working all the way to conference if necessary to get peace in the valley. But we have to have this. This is the key bill to the whole, from the OSIG report and the framework that we're trying to come up with. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Torian.
Madam Chair, to Delegate Cresack, I'm going to take your word on this one here that some folks have voiced some concerns and that you're going to be sincerely working to work those changes out. So with that said, Madam Speaker, I move to report.
Yes, report and refer.
Report and refer.
Thank you. All right, we have second. Yes, we do. We have a second. Delegate Knight. So this bill 763, a report and refer with substitution to appropriations. All right, Delegate Cresack, your bill will go to appropriations on a vote of 7-1. I will say that I have faith that you will work this out between the two bills in the House and the Senate. I don't think anyone wants to do any damage to our moose laws or VFWs.
Not at all.
And make sure that their charitable funds are available moving forward. All right.
One last one.
There's two more.
Oh, there's two more. 764 is bill that also came out of our charitable gaming recommendation. It relates to Texas Hold'em poker. I have a few amendments for the bill. And Ashley can give them to you.
Madam Chair, it is an amendment in the nature of a substitute, and it should be up online now.
There's no FISC on this one. This one doesn't have to go to approves. Delegate Cresack.
You look for, move the amendments.
Are we ready to, anybody make a motion on sub? Second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Delegate Cresack, we're going to make this your last one because this bill and your other do not have to go to appropriations. So
we can do that one next week.
We can do it next week.
All
yes,
right.
sir.
So you want me to do this one real quick?
Yes.
All right, we'll try. So what this does is the amendments reinsert language to allow professionals to operate Texas Hold'em games. At first, we were trying to keep to the spirit of charitable gaming, which is they're volunteer-run organizations, and that they're membership-driven, and that's what you do. And when you play bingo and such like that, it's done by volunteers. However, we've come to learn that Texas Hold'em is a little bit of the tournaments are a little bit more difficult than the average Joe can handle. So that there are some professionals out there that can come around and can come to your social quarters and do those games. So that's what that amendment does. So Kit takes care of that. And the basic part of this, what this bill does is reinforces the original intent of the enabling legislation that charities would only be allowed to play Texas Hold'em tournaments. So what we would have is the tournaments, not Texas Hold'em games, and we would have the landlords would be required to be permitted now by VDAX, and that's what this will do for the most part. It's just to bring some regulatory clarity to Texas Hold'em tournaments and the operators and the landlords. So that's, and if Senator Reeves wants to add anything to that. All right.
All right. Any member of the committee have any questions? Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for Delegate Creasy. Delegate Creasy, my understanding is the exclusion. This was carved out basically to allow volunteer rescue squads, moose lodges, anybody that had a bingo license, basically, to be able to conduct the Texas Hold'em tournament. And the idea behind that was that by instituting gaming and casinos, that we necessarily were impacting the bottom line of charitable gaming, which, as I know you know, is a $50 million a year contributor to various charities in Virginia. A lot of people, a lot of needy people benefit necessarily from that. And I guess my question to you is, what's the propriety now in taking away this one game that we allowed them to compensate for the losses that they necessarily are going to see?
Madam Chair, this should not be taking away any games at all. This is just putting this is just tightening up the regulations around Texas Hold'em to make sure that it is a tournament set up, so that also you have that the landlords, the venues that rent the space, that they're now under the authority of VDAX, that they can be audited and things like that. So it's really not it's not stopping Texas Hold'em by any means, the tournaments. And the concern is with Texas Hold'em, if you play a regular Texas Hold'em and you're not doing cash games, you're talking about a lot of cash, and that would require these places to have a safe, guards, armed guards and things like that. This is a charity version. The tournaments don't have that same kind of situation. So I think that this is just, and this comes out of the OSIG report as well.
Follow-up question,
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Campbell.
Delegate Creasy, maybe I'm reading the language wrong. It says any organization qualified to conduct bingo games on or after July 1, 2019 may conduct Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. However, no such organization may conduct individual Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. What does that mean exactly?
Which line are you on?
Well, let me see if I can get over on the
Madam Chair, it's line 206.
206.
Which line? What line? 206. Yeah, well, it does certainly say that no organization may conduct individual Texas Hold'em poker games, but we're not talking. That's a game, not tournament. So that's the tournaments are. If you look right before that line, it says any organization qualified to conduct bingo games on or after July 1, 2019 may conduct Texas Hold'em poker tournaments, and that's what we're trying to keep it to, is a tournament, not. And that was really the intent of when we first passed this Texas Hold'em expansion about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago. It was about the tournaments, and we're just trying to make it clear that we're not talking about a poker game. Cash game, poker cash game. A tournament is a whole different animal, and there's people here. We have a witness out here who could speak to exactly the difference. Tad, do you want to, if it's okay with the chair, you can explain the difference between Texas Hold'em tournament and cash games really quickly.
Yeah, really quickly.
Thank you.
In a tournament, individuals pay a set fee. The tournament perhaps will last 4 hours, a charity tournament. Cash games, in the tournament, you can have a rebuy if you get busted out maybe the first hour, so you can invest another buy-in. But after that, that's where it stops. With a cash game, you can continue to invest as much money and play for as much as you have in your pocket or is available to you. So that's the difference.
So that's the concern, is that you're talking about a lot of money, Madam Chair. A lot, where people can lose a lot of money. It's not just, your buy-in is $20, and then you have one more buy-in of another $20, so that's $40. But with cash, with poker games, you could be $4,000.
And I see the intent, but do we define Texas Hold'em poker games in the code from tournaments?
Yes, if you go to line 145, you can see what the definition, and 140 tells you what a Texas Hold'em poker game is. It talks about it's where players receive 2 cards face down, blah, blah, blah. And then with line 145, Texas Hold'em poker tournament, or tournament means organized competition of players, fixed entry. It has it all. It's all in here.
No, I thank the gentleman.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone, have we had everybody speak? We have, haven't we? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
Yep.
Want to speak in opposition, please?
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry. Anyone speak in opposition?
Dave Alboy, the Virginia Charitable Bingo Association. Delegate Krizik graciously accepted 2 amendments that I had offered. He didn't like the third. It deals with the topic that Delegate Campbell was talking about tournaments. What my clients have found is that they can't find enough people to play tournaments. Why? Because it takes 6 hours. Let me tell you something that's never happened in my house. My wife's saying, Dave, why don't you leave for 6 hours and play poker with your friends? The cash games allow people to play cash and to leave when they want. They can cash their chips out where they want. My suggestion was not to have this bill say that you can have cash games, but to allow the regulators to decide if it really is needed or not. And so my suggestion on the old version, I don't have the substitute, it was on line 259, to add a line to the list of things that the regulators were going to consider, to add a line that said, prescribe the conditions under which players may wager actual money or poker chips that have cash value. Doesn't say that you're going to have it, just says that they have to consider it. If we could have that line, then even the Charitable Bingo Association would be for the bill. They just cannot they cannot pay people to run the place, pay the rent, and do everything for 6 hours with 10 guys playing poker for 6 hours. Doesn't work.
Madam Chair, last word.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have been trying to work with former Delegate Albo, my friend, and we have made some adjustments, as he mentioned. This one, though, and I think it's premature at this point. I would wait. We can come back in a year. You can come back and you can say, hey, it's, these 6 hour situations are too long or whatever. But I know a lot of these poker, these tournaments, people play them they'll play them for 4 to 8 hours, whatever it takes. And that's the enjoyment of it. They're not losing a lot of money. They're only losing what they put in at the beginning. That's the whole point of this. We do not want to create little casino operations. If you have poker, it'll be just like, Deadwood, South Dakota or someplace like that has this kind of poker. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We operate on motion.
Move to report the bill.
All right, it's been moved to report and second the bill as a substitute. All right. I'm going to vote no on this because I'm not sure. All right, Delegate Krisak, your bill passes 5-3. That concludes our business. We'll take up your last bill, and this meeting stands adjourned.